What is going on, CS? Welcome to CS Online. We're back for another night. We are super pumped that you're hanging out with us tonight. Seriously, we are so pumped that you're here. But before we get kicked off tonight, I thought it would be fun if we did something a little different. In the comments below, I want you guys to share your favorite thing about your small group leaders, whatever it may be. It might be their funny accent, it might be what they do, whatever it may be. Write in your comments down below, what is your favorite part about your small group leaders? I just thought it'd be fun to give them a shout out and a huge thank you for all that they do. So write that in the comments. We can't wait to read those. But before we jump in tonight, we're also going to watch a quick music video. Now, I have seen many music videos and many songs on TikTok, and you know, I've thought about doing it, but I don't know. I'm not really a big TikTok guy, but they are pretty funny. If you think of a good one that you would like me to do, put it in the comments down below. I would like to know. But this music video is really good. I think this could be the next big hit. So let's watch it.
One, two, three. Turn on the TV or the radio news. Everybody's talking about those old virus blues. Can't find no sanitizer or toilet tissues. Everybody's talking about those old virus blues. There's just one thing now that I know is true. If I'm gonna be quarantined, I wanna be with you. If I'm gonna be quarantined, I wanna be with you. They closed down the schools and canceled all the shows. What happens next, only Jesus knows. Can't shake hands, only elbows and shoes. Everybody's talking about those old virus blues. There's just one thing now that I know is true. If I'm gonna be quarantined, I wanna be with you. If I'm gonna be quarantined, I wanna be with you. There's one thing now that I know is true. If I'm gonna be quarantined, I wanna be with you. If I'm gonna be quarantined, I wanna be with you. If I'm gonna be quarantined, I wanna be with you. If I'm gonna be quarantined, I wanna be with you.
So, when you don't know how to do something, how to fix something, or how something works, what do? Ask a teacher? Ask your parents? Ask your friends? Ask someone you really know and trust? No! You go to the internet and ask some randos. But I'm not talking about creeps here, I hope. No, I mean the people of the internet! You know, those people who make how-to videos. Because chances are, if you're trying to figure out something, someone on the internet has already figured it out for you. Things like, how do I unsend a text? No. How do I do a winged eyeliner? How do I get rid of the zit by Friday night? How do I get out of gym class? How do I screen cap Snapchat without getting caught? They'll never know. But then there are things in life that don't have an easy fix, that don't have a simple solution, that don't have a how-to video. Things like what to do when you have problems with family, or when it seems like you have no control in your life, or what to do when someone has done something to you. I mean, clearly, they gotta go. The truth is, There's a lot of life that doesn't have a solution you can just find online. So how do you know what to do when you don't know what to do?
Do you ever feel like you're actually living in two different worlds? Like, there's your life in the actual world, that's school with your friends, in the band, playing sports, and then there's your life at home. And even though you have to live in your house, nothing about it feels real. Maybe you don't want to be there, or the people in your family just drive you crazy, and you're counting down the days until you can leave for good. Maybe that's why we act different at home than we do everywhere else. It could be you've never really thought about it before, but isn't it true? At home, we tend to be one version of ourselves, and everywhere else gets a different version. We all do this. Come on, think about it. You would never leave your dirty dishes out at a friend's house, but you don't think twice about doing it at your own house. You would never talk to coach the same way you do stepmom. You would never be mean to a teammate like you are to your little brother. You wouldn't completely ignore a teacher when they're giving you instructions, but when dad asks you to take out the trash, you pretend you didn't hear and just don't do it. Here's the thing, I don't think we're trying to act like jerks at home. Well, most of the time. But sometimes that's exactly what happens. At home, our families get one version of us and everyone else gets a different version. A version who doesn't leave the dishes out, doesn't talk back, is kind to the annoying people in their life, and listens to instruction. But how is this possible? How can we act in two completely different ways depending on where we are? How can we be one person at home and another person to the rest of the world? There may be a lot of reasons for this, but I think one of the main reasons is because when we're at home, it's our world and everyone else is just living in it. Sounds a little harsh, but just think about it. We walk in the door and we want to know if dinner is something we like. We come into the living room and we want to watch the channel we want to watch. We complain about going to our siblings' band concert because we have other plans. It's our world and we want it to be our way. But for everywhere else, we seem to get the point that the world doesn't revolve around us. We would never stand up in the middle of chemistry class and complain because this isn't a subject we're very interested in. We would never tell our coach, hey, I'm not doing those sprints because I'm just not a fan of that drill. We just don't talk back like we do at home, and we go along with it. We sit in class, we take notes, we run hard, we finish the sprints. And why? Because we know complaining in those situations would be pointless, because it's not just about us. But at home, all bets are off, because at home, we always seem to be asking ourselves a question we don't seem to ask as much everywhere else. At home, we always seem to ask the question, how does this affect me? I mean, think about it. Everything we say or do at home is in response to how that question is answered. How does this affect me? I don't get to go out with my friends because I have to babysit? Well, how does this affect me? If that's the case, I'm gonna give my parents the silent treatment. Like, no. I studied so hard for my test while my sister watched TikToks all night, and she got a better grade than me. How does this affect me? Well, she doesn't even deserve that A. So obviously now I'm annoyed with her and I am going to treat her that way. See? What I don't think a lot of us realize as we think about our lives at home is how much our response to the question, how does this affect me, plays a role in making our home the way it is. When we get mad at our parents and turn on the silent treatment, well, that definitely changes the vibe of the house. When we are annoyed with our sister getting a better grade than us, that will definitely affect our relationship with our sister. We may not like what's going on at home. We may not even like the people who live there with us, but chances are we aren't thinking about the way we may be affecting the environment at home. What if home is the way it is because we aren't exactly helping to make it any better? What if we play a bigger role than we realize? Listen, you don't need me to tell you that family stuff is hard. But the good news in all of this is that the difficulties you face with your family aren't unique to you, and they've been going on for thousands of years. In fact, one of the things I love most about the real events in the Bible is how it gives us a painfully real look at real people who lived real lives with real problems. Even the people who were supposedly the heroes had obvious faults, and we get to learn from them and read all about them. And over the next couple weeks, we're gonna spend time looking at the life of Joseph. Now, Joseph was one of the most famous people in the first half of the Bible. He's a guy who, just like us, found himself in many situations where he needed to figure out what to do when he didn't know what to do. It's honestly like the most dramatic reality TV show you've ever seen. There are murder plots, he's sold into slavery, he's unfairly put in jail, the story twists and turns everywhere, and the drama doesn't stop. We'll get into that in the next few weeks, but it all starts with his drama with his family. Let me give you some background. Joseph was one of 12 sons who all had Jacob as their dad. Now, Jacob's story was complicated. He fell in love with a woman named Rachel, but was tricked into marrying Rachel's sister Leah instead. But Jacob loved Rachel, so he worked for her father for 7 years so he could marry her too. And if you're keeping count, that leaves Jacob with 2 wives, and they were sisters. But that wasn't all. There were 2 other women he never married, but who he also had children with. Let's just say the Bible is wild, but here's the kicker. Rachel, the wife Jacob loved most, couldn't have children. While all these other women gave him kids, Rachel never could until Joseph. She finally had a son, and since it was common knowledge that Jacob loved Rachel the most, it made sense that Jacob would love the son Rachel had the most as well. That means in this family with 1 father, 4 mothers, and 12 sons, there was some tension. Because there was a favorite, and it was no secret who the favorite was. And when that makes up your home life, conflict is inevitable. And this is where we pick up in the life of Joseph. In Genesis 37, we read about how Jacob made a special robe for Joseph, a physical reminder of how much more his dad loved him than the other brothers. And the brothers despised him for it, but that wasn't the only issue. Joseph then has a series of dreams. Joseph said to them, his brothers, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." Now, this wasn't your typical dream, and the brothers knew it. This dream, it wasn't about grain. It was about power. And Joseph was sending a message by sharing the dream. He was saying, "Yo, guys, listen to this. I think I'm gonna be more powerful than you one day. And when that day comes, you will all worship me." For your younger brother to say this to older brothers, that's not gonna fly. The passage goes on. His brother said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule over us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he said. Just sharing that dream would have been bad enough, but then Joseph has another dream involving the sun, moon, and stars bowing down to him. It was the same message, but this time it included his parents bowing down as well. He tells his dad, Jacob, and his brothers, who now hate him even more. We can see the tension is growing in this already tense family dynamic. 1 dad, 4 moms, and a dozen boys. And now the favorite son said everyone was going to bow down to him one day, as if he needed any more affirmation. But Joseph wasn't acting in a way that considered any of that. Joseph is behaving like any of us would in his position. Hyper aware of how we are being treated and pretty clueless when it comes to how others in our family are being treated. All we think of is that one question: how does this affect me? Not how it may affect our parents, step-parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, or grandparents, no. And Joseph's family was the same way. All Joseph's brothers could see was how the whole situation affected them, the unfairness and injustice. I mean, Joseph receiving the robe he did as a gift was like being given a brand new car when he turned 16, while all the other brothers had to share mom's ancient minivan. That's just not right. And they saw it. But Joseph didn't. Joseph only saw how the situation affected him. He can't help it that he got a cool robe. He can't help the dreams he's having. His brothers are getting worked up. It's not that big of a deal. The truth is, even though these few verses are about more than some strange dreams a guy had, they're about the tension the family never dealt with, tension that was left to grow. And we're still reading this today for a reason. Why? To show that family has always been complicated and to teach us that we could all do better when it comes to how we approach our family and our role in it. To remind us that tension not dealt with will never just go away. It will always escalate to something bigger. And we'll see how Joseph's family tension leads to something worse with Joseph next week. But until then, what could everyone in the family have done differently? Well, first, Joseph could have started to see himself as part of the problem, as one person in a large family and not the center of it. Second, he could have recognized how his dad's favoritism was impacting his brothers. Third, his brothers could have let go of their grudges. And fourth, they could have ignored Joseph's dreams and not allowed their insecurity to control them. The point is this: Joseph's drama with his family has something to teach all of us. And the lesson is this: be aware of the role you play in your family. Pay attention to how your words and your actions contribute to the tone and temperature of the house. Are you improving it, or are you making it more tense? Then make a decision about what you want your role to be from here on out. If home is miserable for you, could you consider that you may be contributing to that? Is there something you can do to make it not feel that way? What role are you playing in your experience at home? If you aren't sure where to begin, take a look at this passage in the letter Paul wrote to the Philippians. Paul writes, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross." Jesus sets the example right here. He gave up his divine privileges when he had every reason not to. He's reminding us to be humble and honest with ourselves and to pay attention to how we affect our family. So, $1,000,000 question. How do we do that? We start by having an accurate view of ourselves. We don't see ourselves as better than anyone else, and we see others as worthy of respect, honor, and uplifting treatment. Like Jesus, we identify a right we need to give up. What attitude and behavior is keeping us from behaving the best way possible with our families? What right are we demanding for ourselves but not offering to our family? Fairness, kindness, compassion, and finally, and perhaps hardest of all, we need to invite someone else to speak into how we treat our family. Sometimes we don't have a very clear picture of the role we play in the relationships closest to us. But by having someone who can tell us what we're doing well and what we need to work on will help us start to see ourselves and our family more clearly. Family, it's always going to be complicated, like always. And when we don't know what to do with family, we can start by taking a look at ourselves. Where can we behave differently? Where could we be more like Jesus? We may not be able to fix all of our family drama, but we can take ownership of our part and go from there. And that's a great place to start.